Good afternoon. This is 1 p.m. I will call this City Council workshop of August 26, 2025 to order. This will be both a physical meeting and a virtual meeting. Some members of city staff or consultants may be participating via teleconference. Today's meeting may be viewed on YouTube, Facebook, and following the meeting on cable channel 10 HD 1090. Public comment is not normally taken at workshop meetings, although the council may allow or request public participation on action items. We have 2 action items on our agenda today. I would like to welcome everyone. I hope you all have been enjoying the summer in our beautiful city. We had a great turnout for our Right Blend this past Friday. My thanks again to Naval Air Station Whidbey Island Commanding Officer Captain Nathan Gramash for joining me and responding to questions from our community. With that, I know that Councilmember Wiggenstein is attending remotely. I believe that Mayor Pro Tem was going to as well, but I don't see her. So just to note that they are online participating. I'd like to take a few minutes to invite council members to provide any updates on city boards, commissions, or committees on which they serve. Are there any council members who wish to report at this time? Councilmember Merrill.
With respect to the transit district, the very good news is the feds have approved moving the money from hydrogen-powered buses to replacement buses that are diesel electric, which I think makes complete sense. So I'm not sure how it originally got that way since I was relatively new on the board. And also with regard to contract negotiations, I would note that the sustainability of wage increases and so forth is a significant factor that needs to be considered, especially in light of the fact that a recent Skagit paper was noting that they themselves were having trouble figuring out the doability of the current wage structure they have. And of course, their wages are higher than ours. Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
I actually have a question for Councilmember Morrow. And I don't think it's online, so I apologize if I'm wrong. Is there any way to get ridership numbers? I mean, it'd be nice to know how many people are going and coming and...
Yeah, Councilmember Merrill, go ahead. I actually asked for that too.
Okay, I can speak directly to that. Okay. In my conversations with the executive director and the other board members, I mentioned to them that we need really to have some sort of metrics so that we can be more efficient with regard to optimizing the use of on-demand, special needs, and then regular scheduled services. So there is a work in progress to do passenger counts, but that is not in effect yet. But I've noted to her that that is essential for us in order to get an optimized mix of routes and services. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I appreciate you pushing that, especially, I mean, obviously it's even a harder push to get maybe some route numbers. I mean, we have the bus stop at the marina, and I'm sure we could conjure up a story of, you know, I talked to this person and they rode the bus, which is no doubt true, but it'd be nice firm numbers. Is 5 people a day using it? Is 100 people a day using it? I mean, it would just be nice to have numbers to know the efficiency of those options.
Actually, with regard to the sustainability of the services, that's essential too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you for that, because I did meet with Councilmember Romero on Monday, and I asked that same question, and I am meeting with Commissioner Johnson and having a conversation with her about that as well, since she sits on the board, so.
I may have something to add.
Oh, okay.
I worked in transit for 3.5 years, and one of the requirements of every transit agency is to report their ridership to the FTA, the Federal Transportation Administration, and Island Transit does report their overall ridership to it, and you can get that, you know, at the FTA. You can just Google FTA agency profile, and you could see the ridership for bus, for van pool, and demand response every year for the last number of years. So ridership is available online.
I was going to say, I would think that they would know that then and
Well,
get that.
maybe they thought the question was ridership per route, which is, you know, this is just a
Sure. I mean, any number would be good, but per route would be lovely, so.
Yeah, I have annual unlinked passenger trips here, so, I mean, I could send that to the council. So, yeah, okay.
Thank you, David. All right, thank you, and thank you to all the volunteers who serve on these boards. Your participation is very much appreciated. I will now call upon council for any other additional comments, just general comments, if you have any at this time. All right, hearing none, we will move on to our city administrator's monthly departmental report, and here to introduce that is our city administrator, Sabrina Combs.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So I just have some quick updates that were highlighted in the report. One, we are starting to work on our legislative priorities, which we bring to you in the fall. And so this is looking at both the Association of Washington Cities and what we get from the Council of Governments in Island County, as well as some of our own priorities, and meshing those to create one that represents the city of Oak Harbor. So we have staff working on that currently. We also are working through more of the applications for the advisory commission, so those are going to come to you currently planned for September 16th at the council meeting. We have 2 more that we've got bringing forward to you on that. And then I just wanted to thank all of you for the support going to the WCMA conference. It's really helpful to sit around with other city administrators and city managers and chat about what's going on at our cities and find some of those comparables, as well as some of those other items that they're working on that we might be looking into. And then there was also a women's summit that was highlighted at the last council meeting, and it was really helpful to sit and listen to future leaders and current leaders about what's going on in the different cities as well from the female perspective and leadership perspective. So it was really a great time for that. And then we did have a postmortem meeting for the July 4th, and just talking about the special events piece and what we could do better and how we can partner and how we can strengthen that event going forward. So it was really great to meet with the chamber staff and have that conversation. We just want to continue to do that with our larger events and make sure that we're addressing items and looking forward to what we could improve in the future. And then we have the employee picnic coming up on August 28th. And we are all very excited about that. It's an opportunity for our staff to gather. And in past surveys, this is something that has been brought up by our staff, wanting to have more opportunity to hang out with each other, just really spend that time and get away from the office and share information. So we will be giving some updates at that, but really it's an important time for our staff to gather. So we're looking forward to that. So that's it, unless you have any questions for me.
Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
I can't help but chuckle a little bit whenever I hear the term post-mortem discussion. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but is there any update on the windmill?
So we had some requests to look at some of the information on that. So the big piece for the windmill is that there were some items related to the permitting and the ADA requirements that are around both the inside downstairs and the upstairs area that was discussed. So we have that, and then there's some contractual things that Julie and I have been looking into. So those are the items that we knew about that we've been working through.
Yeah, I can weigh in real quickly too. I think from the windmill side, I think we did, we're working on the agreement to present to council for the participation of the Rotary Club acting as the general contractor. We've got through some of those documents, but I think ultimately we are stuck in a permitting issue. One of the issues that come up is putting an ADA bathroom up on the second floor, even though there may not be ADA access to the second floor. So even though there's no access by ADA to the second floor because it's a public space, there's an ADA bathroom. We were planning on putting in one bathroom, which was downstairs. We're trying to make the building utilitarian enough where folks would rent it out, and that rental fee would go to the sustainment of it. We don't want the windmill to ever be a burden on the taxpayers. We're trying to make a model that is self-sustaining moving forward, and you know, using it as a event space inside, you know, seemed to be the logical model for that, similar to what we do on the picnic huts and stuff. But I think the latest revelation was, you know, with the determination of the lagoon as being shoreline, that did change the entire permitting process from a shoreline exemption permit process, or actually we were exempt from the shoreline exemption permit process, but now we're back to a shoreline exemption permit to be exempt from the rules of the shoreline, because we're not building on the shoreline, but we're building within 150 feet of the shoreline. So committee-wise, you know, I think we've got other than the revisions that we're discussing now regarding the ADA components, I think we've got all of the plans engineered up to current code. We have donors ready and waiting to start on some of the production side. We have funds that could get us started. We've still got a little ways to go on the funds, but we also realize that once the thing starts going vertical, that there'll be another resurgence, from the community to help with that fundraising side. But that's where we're at, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think we're kind of in the same boat as we are with our lagoon dock, right, where we're in a permitting deal because of the designation of the lagoon and shoreline.
Very true. So there was the ADA in that, so yes.
So are we working with legal on that? Is that what we're doing?
So it's through the state that we work, if you're talking about the shoreline permit?
No. Yeah, for the windmill specifically.
Yeah, so there's a process that we have to go through with the state for that, and so it is, Councilmember's correct, it is a long process. It's something that we're all aware of, and so that is the process that they go through on that, and our staff works very diligently with them to get that completed.
Got it. Okay, great. Yes, Councilmember Romero.
Councilmember Wiesner, with regard to the ADA restroom, you're saying it's mandatory for the second deck by regulation or law?
That's what we're being told. If it's going to be a public space, it's mandated, but we don't have any provisions. There's no elevator or anything in there to get the folks up there. But that's what we're being told.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you, Sabrina, for your report. Moving on to then our first action item, City of Oak Harbor Employee Survey. And here to introduce that is our Communications Officer, Maggie Aguilar, to review updates made and respond to any additional questions, as well as our HR Director, Emma House, who has been working with Maggie on this.
Hi, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, Maggie, we can.
Yeah, oh, okay, good, thank you. So, first off, thank you for having me here again, Mayor and Council. I want to thank you for your trust in facilitating this survey. It is very important for me to gather the data and provide the results for you in a tangible manner. I also would like to thank Emma House, our HR Director, for her expertise in working on the survey previously in the past, and I want to thank her for being there in person, as I cannot be there in person today. So last week you received an updated emailed employee survey, and I made the changes that we had discussed per your recommendations at our council meeting. So you have those. The main revisions were on section 3. So hopefully everyone had a chance to see that. I also had a conversation with Emma about the committee that will be working on the actionable results, and we had some really great ideas. I would love for her to share her thoughts on the committee, as there are 2 committees that are already formed and would love to use their expertise in facilitating the results of this survey. So if Emma is around, I'd love for her to speak on that.
Now it's on. Okay. Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thanks, Maggie. You do have 2 current staff committees. You have a safety committee and a wellness committee. Both of those committees are staffed by employees throughout different departments of your city. So different individuals from all the different areas come together. They meet quarterly for the safety committee, and they meet monthly for your wellness committee. They both have different standards that they try to meet, different events and programs that they try to put on for the employees throughout the year. And part of the Well City standards is to conduct an annual survey, whether it's based on culture, environment, safety, needs, and interests. They give us a couple of different templates. And many of the questions that are in your survey that Maggie shared with you are actually some of the same questions that would be recommended for the Well City standards. So we do have those surveys in place that we use yearly right now for Well City. They do take that information back to your committees. We usually split up those items based on wellness, based on safety, and ask those 2 committees to see what they can do with the action items to address the feedback and get back to the employees with programs and events the following year. So those two committees do a lot of great work. I appreciate them, and I thank them for their work. And me and Maggie talked about when we get the results, there's going to be different ways that we can probably use those two committees that are already in place to take some action items forward.
Great, thank you. Maggie, were you done? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I just have one more thing. At the council meeting, we had talked about launching, we will be discussing it with the staff at the all-staff picnic this week. Because there is a survey that will be going out after the picnic, we decided to launch it in mid-September, so that gives the Wellness Committee some time to gather those results, but we will be launching and speaking to the staff about it on Thursday. Was there any other questions, any other feedback?
Yeah, so at this time, is there any questions or comments from council that they would like to ask or share of Maggie and Emma? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
Simply briefly, I'm very, it sounds like you all are working hard to make sure the evaluation of the results are very carefully scrutinized and evaluated and formulated before they're released to the public. That's all.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, as this is an action item, I will confirm with our city clerk, Julie Nestor, that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Great, and then I would just inquire of council if you wish to accept comments, if any, from those in attendance today. Okay, is there anyone here that's with us this afternoon that would like to make comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for this then. Do you have a motion, Maggie?
I have it in the presentation. Do we have that up from the presentation?
I think you guys have to make a motion, right?
Oh, there it is.
Go ahead, Councilman Romero.
Do it.
I strongly move to approve the in-house employee survey conducted by the city communications officer in conjunction with the city's human resources department.
Second.
All right, we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Romero, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Mayor Pro Tem has her hand up.
I was prematurely voting. I
Oh, no
apologize.
worries, no worries. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I believe we passed unanimously. Is Councilmember Wiggins? Yeah, okay. All right, so thank you very much for your participation on that. Moving on to Finance Lodging Tax Annual Review, and here to introduce that is our Grants Administrator, Wendy Horn, and Deputy City Administrator and Finance Director, David Goldman.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. It's on. Can you hear me? Testing?
I can hear you.
Okay. So this is our annual review of the lodging tax funds. This year, we do have a couple of extra topics that we're going to just go over and get feedback and some guidance, hopefully. So we're going to go over the lodging tax, the purpose of it, the purpose of the committee, some proposed changes to the application and the guidelines. We're going to talk about Chalk Fest, and we're going to talk about the proposed timeline for the 2026 funds, fund balances, funding levels, and then we also are just going to review the Marina debt service as requested by the council at the last meeting. So the lodging tax is a state sales tax that was implemented by the state legislature in 2008. The basic tax is what we call the first 2%. It is charged to all overnight stays in hotels, motels, and Airbnbs. Basically, the state collects 6.5% sales tax, and 2% of that comes back to the city directly. In addition, we have the option of adding another 2% onto that. And in 1999, the City Council approved that additional 2% lodging tax. So you probably know that the use of the revenues are restricted per RCW 6728. They are to be used for tourism marketing, special events that are designed to attract tourists, operations and capital expenditures of tourism-related events, related facilities, which includes the repayment of debt, operations of nonprofit tourism-related facilities, and then we did get some guidance with the state auditor's office, and they've concluded that funding can also be used for LTAC staff support if we choose to apply for it. So, also per the RCW 67, any city over 5,000 population must establish a lodging tax advisory committee. And so we also adopted in our municipal code 2.66 the committee and who is able to serve on that committee. It's very specific. So we have 3 members that represent the businesses that collect the tax. We have 3 members that represent organizations that can receive the tax through a grant, and then the chair is always a member of the city council. So each year, the city council reviews the lodging tax fund balance and authorizes the amount it will be dispersed in the following year. The city council then notifies the LTAC on the amount, and the grant application period then opens. The LTAC convenes, they receive applications, they review them, and then they will make recommendations back to you, the city council. And you, as a city council, can choose to accept the recommendations as is, or you can change funding levels on one or more of any of the grant recommendations, but those then must be sent back to the LTAC for their review and comment. And that starts the clock back to 45 days. So it's another 45 days period where they have time to review. Then the LTAC will provide their feedback back to you again. And you can choose to accept or reject their final comments. And you can fund at the level of the council's choice. One caveat is that the city council may not award funds to any recipient that is not recommended by the LTAC. So, any questions about the process of LTAC? Yes.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Just a quick question on that, Wendy, because I think we've had some confusion on this in the past. If there is something that the council wants to send back to the LTAC committee, it's just those particular items, not the entire package, correct? So in other words, we can pick an individual item out of it, send that one back, approve everything else on the list. Well, because I've heard it both ways.
Right, and I will need to get clarification on the exact process, if you have to send everything back, or if you can just send one. I know
Yeah, 'cause we've heard it both ways over the years, and so
Yes.
it'd be nice just to have that clarification.
And I know we had that conversation at the last LTAC recommendation, so I'll definitely clarify that for you.
Councilmember Stuckey.
There's legally and then like in practice, right? It would be interesting. I mean, let's say that 12 things are brought before this body. We approve 11 of them and send back one. It would be interesting if the other 11 are approved. Let's say we thought that it should receive more. Well, where is it coming from? So like, I see where it could, and it'd be a little difficult in practice, but I understand you're asking legally, so.
Yeah, we've been faced with issues in the past where there was maybe one that, was a little ways off and we were a little suspicious of, but we went ahead and had to approve it because we didn't want to hold up funding for all the others in the 45 days, because that would actually hold up some of those events. And so it would be nice to know if that option was available.
I will clarify that, definitely. Any other questions about the process? And so, one of the things that happened at last year's grant cycle was that the committee, the LTAC, met. They met in February after all of the awards had been made, because they wanted to review the application and the guidelines and make some recommended changes to those. So they went through it. They added some things to the guidelines, they added some new questions, they reordered the questions, and they made some recommended changes to the points assigned to each question. So they wanted to see more emphasis on an actual project and the marketing of that project or event, whatever you want to call it. They wanted to see more emphasis on overnight stays from people who are coming from 50 miles away. They also wanted to more emphasis on how organizations are counting those numbers. They wanted to see how an event or project is increasing the economic vitality in Oak Harbor. They wanted to see how events are increasing their attendance year over year as opposed to just being steady. And then they also wanted to ask organizations how they plan to become self-sustaining, so they're not always coming back to LTAC for funding year after year. And these are all recommended changes that you'll see at the next council meeting. There'll be just one item on the proposed changes with the recommended changes redlined and then the clean copy. A couple of the other changes that they wanted to make too is they wanted to change the shoulder season from 15 points to 5 points, recognizing that there are events that happen during the summer months that bring a whole lot of people here. So 15 points right off the top of 100 just seemed like a lot. And then they also wanted to make sure that we clarify in the guidelines and in the application that when you're applying for an event, to make sure that that event is going to take place in the calendar year that the grant board is given. Any questions about that? You'll see those.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I have a problem with that theory.
Okay.
That we're going to make them self-sustaining. These are nonprofits. The whole purpose of them is to raise money to give back into the community, whether it be through scholarships or whatever. So to say that an event like Music Festival is all of a sudden going to have their own $60,000 that we currently give them to run it, or whether it be Hydros for Heroes or whatever the event is, the whole purpose of these events is that they're giving back into the community and they're nonprofits. They're not really making money. So that's kind of weird for me, but that's just
Okay.
my 2 cents, so. Councilmember Wiesner.
Yeah, I would just follow up with that. I agree with that, because the reality is, if the nonprofits have to use all of the money they raise to sustain themselves and are not giving it back to the community, I think that takes away from that nonprofit's desire to move forward, right? Because they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it for a cause. They're doing it for the love of whatever it is that they're wanting to support. And you know, if we expect them to divert the funds that they would normally be giving to that cause to sustain themselves, then we'd probably find ourselves without that event. So,
That's a good point.
Thank you.
And I can reword that question a little bit so that maybe it's a little softer than, how are you going to do this?
Yeah,
And then you can take a look at it.
I just
too.
think that it contradicts even what a nonprofit's mission is, because the mission of a nonprofit is to give back. They're not in it to make money for, they're not like a business that's in it to make money. So it's confliction for me, so.
And just to that point, LTAC is broad enough that we actually don't define whether or not you have to be a nonprofit or not. So, just as I know.
I get that. I'm
as a
just
side note.
saying, when we're looking, when
Yes.
we're making an assessment about organizations that are coming forward and asking for money, I don't think it's fair to penalize one group of people who are in a nonprofit status because they are coming back year after year when we look at what they give back to the community and what they do. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Any other thoughts on those changes that you'd like me to relook at the application? No? Okay. So this brings up our next topic about Chalkfest. Chalkfest is a new event that the city's Parks and Recreation Department applied for. funding for the 2025 round of LTAC, and they were awarded $17,000. Due to challenges in the scheduling and timing, they want to postpone the event until 2026. However, they do expect to spend some dollars in 2025 on planning and potentially securing a contract. So we contacted our city's attorney because we didn't really know if this was an okay thing to do. And they made the recommendation that the city council consider a resolution or an amendment to their it's not a contract because it's a city department, but basically consider a resolution extending the funding for Chalk Fest through 2026. And basically, since you are the legislative authority to authorize the spending, and there's no specific clause that the LTAC application has for when the event is to occur, the city council you can choose to extend the grant period as you wish. And again, per the city attorney's guidance, the payment of that $17,000 would happen after the event occurs because that's the deliverable. So reporting would also extend through 2026. So, any questions about that? Any guidance that you'd like to give staff? Yes.
Councilmember Arms.
Yeah.
I thought the arts department was having Chalk Fest in 2026. Are we having two? One from the parks and one from because we have money on hold for the arts. So we have two?
Ryan?
Yes, that's correct. This is a Arts Commission event. They're working with the Parks and Recreation staff on helping them organize it.
Any guidance or any other questions about that?
So just for clarity, we are having two events or there's one event? There's just one event. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
It was the art.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah. The Art Commission's idea, but functionally, the Parks and Recreation Department will be running the event.
Councilmember Stuckey?
I can feel Brian's gaze. I mean, I see both sides on extending. On the one side, if we're in a bubble, just looking at this like it is, it looks like we're giving the city some special treatment here. I mean, it looks like we just talked about not having it used in the year that it's supposed to. And it looks like we're giving the city a special treatment here. But on the other side, you look at, say, the windmill. I mean, they use some of their money for planning, yet there is no windmill. So it's tough because there's kind of already been a precedent set, even though I don't love the idea of, I mean, this Chalk Fest could potentially fall through. I mean, I'm assuming we don't have a date yet. We just have sometime during this specified year in the future. Is that correct? Or do we have a date for Chalk Fest? Or we just have a year that we're hoping to do it?
Yeah, they have a tentative date in next July.
So we also have Hillary on, and I would like her to weigh in because she's done some research on this matter, and I would just like her to share that with us if she could. Hillary, could you do that, please?
Sure. Essentially, I mean, Mayor, do you want me to talk about why we need to have council's input on it, or
Yes.
the extension portion?
Yes, the extension portion and why, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding from staff that we couldn't get it, I mean, obviously we couldn't get it done for this summer, and because of the language of the contract, and because I think everyone is desiring to be able to do this next summer, we just need council action to effectively renew the grant of funds. And to Councilmember Stuckey's comment, I'm not sure that they have a specific plan in place, but I defer to Brian on that. I think they're working with staff at this point.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Stuckey?
All I'm suggesting is if we're willing to do it for this event for the city, we've got to be able to willing to do it for all the other events that ask for the same treatment.
And to your point, I think that we've already done that, and I think that you would continue to consider that when it's already been, the precedent's been set with windmill, correct? Yeah, so, I mean, so again, the precedent's already been set, and we would continue just to consider them on a case-by-case basis. I don't think we're saying that this is a hard no or a hard yes on anything. Again, it's up to that committee's determination to decide whether or not they want to take it forward. So, yes, Councilmember Romero.
With regard to this particular extension request, there's one thing to state on a case-by-case basis and evaluate each individual project or event as whether to extend or not. But I did want to mention with regard to the windmill, is that an event?
Well, it's still
Okay, it's LTAC grant, but what I'm just describing to you is that this is a discrete event, and so that was the reason I was viewing it in a different light than the windmill, which is an ongoing project.
And I think that that is a fair point to make, but again, I think it's also fair to say we expended the money in what year for the windmill?
2023.
When?
2023.
Okay, so now we're talking 2 years later and we still have nothing tangible to see for that, so. All right, let's continue on.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's my understanding that we don't have the language in there yet that says it has to be used in that calendar year, but we are proposing that for the future. So just my opinion would be it's okay to extend it for this particular one, but once I would still support adding that language in there because I think people, it's like when we do our grants, you have to be shovel ready. You have to be ready to go with these projects, and we're taking money from somebody who is potentially ready and that pushing that out. And so granted, a precedence has been set, but I would like to end that precedent moving forward just to say calendar year if you're not ready to go. But in this particular case, I would support moving it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process behind that is they'd always have the right to reapply, right? I mean, there'd be no guarantee that they would be awarded, but if they need to carry that over to a following year, weren't able to complete, they have the right to go through the application process. So it's not like they definitely lose the money. They don't definitely get it either. But I would think the LTAC Commission, who, when they awarded the money, was probably making an assumption that the money was going to be spent that year and the event was going to take place that year, would like to hear an explanation as to why it didn't, and then obviously be able to make a decision as to whether it's worthwhile continuing to get behind and support, and whether or not that particular event has the stuff put together to pull it off that following year. So, I mean, as long as we don't have a caveat in there preventing them from reapplying, the application isn't that difficult. It's 5 pages, I think, roughly, so.
So without muddying the waters too much, and Brian, I'm going to look to you because I don't want to speak on behalf of the different folks, but the biggest issue with this specific item was the RFP process, which is what was causing them to be unable to meet the deadline for the event and book everything that was needed, right?
And also that they did not receive the full ask from their LTAC application. And so they were also looking on how to make that up. Ultimately, they went back to the Arts Commission, and Arts Commission brought that shortfall to council if they could not receive an additional round of LTAC funds.
Yeah. So I think it was just a culmination of all of those things, and there wasn't enough time left to make it all happen in this year. So, yeah. So, all right, great. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump to the 2026 tentative LTAC timeline and then talk about funding. So right now, I'm proposing basically to kick off the 45-day clock after your September 2nd council meeting, ideally approving the amount to award for 2026 grants. The application window would be opened for about 2 weeks. And then the LTAC will meet ideally the first week of October with then meeting the second or third week of October to make their final award recommendations and then bring those back to the city council ideally, early November. So this is all tentative, but that's what I'm hoping to do. Sometimes schedules don't always work out. In terms of funding, This is just a basic chart of the last 10 years. The purple is the fund balance, and you can see basically it's been strong and steady. The last couple of years, 23 and 24, I know the council decided they wanted to try to spend that down a little bit. So there's that. So as of period 7, which is actually the end of July, not the end of June as it was in your packet, I apologize for that. We have almost $750,000 in the fund with an anticipated revenue remainder of $205,000 coming into us. Right now, we have about $219,000 of unspent grant awards. They just haven't sent us our reimbursement requests yet. But if, say, they all do, we will have about $733,000 remaining in the fund at the end of 2025. So our preliminary revenue estimates for 2026 are about $373,000. In 2026, so 2025 is the final year of the 3-year grants that were awarded. So essentially there are no commitments for 2026 other than Chalk Fest, if you choose to approve that, and then the $50,000 that we give to Whidbey Island and Camano Island Tourism as an interlocal. And I know that's going to be 50 or somewhere very close to that. So if you were to do nothing, at the end of 2026, there would be over $1 million in the fund. Of course, we don't want to do that. So for 2026, the Deputy City Administrator, Dave Goldman, and myself met with LTAC Chair, Councilmember Stuckey, and we went over the fund balance. This is the recommendation for proposed funding level for grants. We are going to be opening both the single-year grant application and the 3-year grant application for this go-round grant cycle. So if you have any comments about that, any questions about that amount, or? No.
What was the amount of what did we retain as a balance for last year?
Well, I know we awarded $450,000 last year as well, but we had commitments of about $168,000 from the 3 years. So we actually awarded about $283,000 in new grants. And honestly, I don't know what the ending balance was off the top of my head.
Okay.
It was, Dave.
So of that 450, we're going to have, in there is going to be whatever we award for LTAC as far as tourism, and then there's also going to be, aren't the chamber grants going to be in there as well?
That's all part of the application process, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, all right.
Okay. So our last topic is the Marina Debt Service. At your August 6th meeting, the City Council approved pursuing $30,000 from the lodging tax funds to assist with the Marina Debt Service. But you also asked us to look into the potential of requesting $55,000 instead of $30,000 so that the utility tax would not have to increase. So if we were to request $55,000 and it was granted for a 20-year period, that would be about $1.1 million from the lodging tax over that 20-year period. We did seek some guidance from the MRSC, just for the process sake, because we don't have a 20-year application, so we weren't sure how that was going to work. And basically, the guidance was that we just need to apply to the LTAC. The city would just need to apply to the LTAC and request approval for $55,000 for 20 years. The RCW is silent on how the funding cycles and the length of the awards, so They could put in a memo, they could put in a regular application, but ask for the 20-year extension. And then LTAC can choose to recommend that award. So I put in the current fund balance with the approval of the annual $450,000 over the next 20 years, just saying that you're going to approve $450,000 every single year, with a 3% increase in revenue year after year. And that basically, over a 20-year span, it still doesn't do much to the fund balance. It actually just continues to increase through the life of that 20 years. And that includes the $50,000 for Camino Island, the $55,000 for the Marina debt. That would still leave $345,000 annually for the council to approve awards. And then one other option I did throw together that isn't in your packet, and I apologize for that, is I added the $55,000 above and beyond the 450 awards, just to see what it would do to the fund balance over time. And if you can see this, it dips down by 2036 down to a little less than $10,000. But then after that, it continues to grow. And it was just another interesting tidbit that I wanted to add. So, does anybody have any questions about that? And I could.
Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, the only comment I've got is, what I would love to see, and I don't know that we've done it in years past really well, is I'd like to more people in the community know about this process. We have a 10-day window, and I know even as a past grant recipient, sometimes I've even almost missed those windows myself, and luckily enough, I get a friendly reminder from somebody at City Hall, right, and we typically reach out to past grant recipients. But I'm talking about the new blood, right? I don't know that we've done a really good job of making people outside of the smaller nonprofit community we have aware of this program, aware of the process, aware of the 10-day window, aware that you don't have to be a nonprofit. All you've really got to do is have a really great idea that could spark tourism. Let's face it, one of the best things we can hope for is new events coming to our town, and as well as supporting the ones we've already got, right? I mean, Anacortes has done a fantastic job, during the summer. I mean, I think that every single weekend there was an event in Anacortes, and you're probably not too thrilled if you live there having to deal with it, but for folks looking for something to do, it's great and convenient to go over there. So, whatever we can do, Facebook, whatever we can do, in the news times. Hey, have you got an idea for a great event? Now's your opportunity to apply for funding to help get that event off the ground, and maybe we can create some new stuff with some fresh ideas. People have come to town that just aren't aware that this option's out there, and certainly are not going to be aware that there's a 10-day window in the month of September for you to apply if you want to hold an event next year. And I think that's an important message to get out.
I'll definitely work with, we have worked with Maggie in the past years too, but definitely trying to get the word out to more people. Yep. And we did have some nice new applications last year, so.
Did you have something you wanted to?
I was just going to say exactly what Wendy said, and I think we've talked with Councilmember Stuckey about this. Last year, we saw a lot of different applications come in and some different ideas or concepts around what would be considered LTAC. There was even the team that's working on Woodby. There were some really new and intriguing ideas that came out of that. So we are starting to see that, and there is more folks or individuals applying or groups that are applying to say, hey, this is an event or an idea that we have that we'd like to bring forward to LTAC. So that's very exciting.
Councilmember Romero?
Yes, Wendy, I wanted to thank you for the clarity of the data that you put forward and also the fact that you brought up a alternative that you brought to our attention. So anytime you are working the numbers and you see something, this might really be an eye-opener for the council, then I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to tread very lightly here, just given my position with the chamber. And if Hillary, if I get in trouble at all, you just stop me, please. I appreciate the chart, Wendy, with adding the 55,000 to that 450. I think when I initially proposed the idea of the $30,000 coming from LTAC, that was with scenario 5 that David had presented us at that meeting, and that included 20 cents of utility tax. If we were going to do that to generate $25,000, if we're going to do that additional $25,000 from LTAC, my recommendation or preferred method would be to at least increase that amount from 450 to 475. We don't necessarily have to do the entire 55,000 on top of the 450. But at least that portion of it, that additional 25,000.
That $9,000 ending fund balance was scary.
Yeah. So, but to do 25,000 of it rather than the 55, that just is my preference. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Anything else? Councilmember Marrow.
Simply as a matter for the record, I favored even a modest utility tax because my baseline operation was an optimal mix of different taxes. But I'm not specifying any interest or in making any changes or anything, but I did want to make that as a matter of the record. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody online? Anything else before we move on to the next item? Hearing nothing, I'm going to move forward with Parks and Recreation. And we thank you, Wendy, for your presentation. It was great. We have an action item, Resolution 2513, Building Donation Agreement and Licensing Agreement with Girl Scouts of Western Washington. Here to introduce that is our Parks and Recreation Director, Brian Smith. Brian will also introduce Nicole Franco, Julie Wendell, and Andrea Anderson of Girl Scouts of Western Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. So in April, staff presented a proposal donation agreement by the Girl Scouts of Western Washington for their facility located generally at 759 Southeast 4th Avenue within Neal Park. Council was desirous that the Girl Scouts of Western Washington and their local troop volunteers had ample opportunity to discuss the proposal and any implications, and bring the item back with an opportunity to hear from the Girl Scout leadership. As Mayor mentioned, we have Andrea Anderson, the Chief Executive Officer of the Girl Scouts of Western Washington with us, as well as Nicole Franco, their COO. And they have a brief presentation about the donation agreement and are happy to answer any questions that council might have. So I'll turn the time over to them if you want to throw up the presentation, Tim. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mayor and esteemed council members, for having us here today. I really appreciate the welcome to your August council workshop. My name, as stated, is Andrea Anderson, and I am the incredibly humble CEO of Girl Scouts of Western Washington. I am here today to represent Girl Scouts of Western Washington. We serve over 15,000 young people and over 9,000 incredibly generous volunteers throughout the western side of Washington. And we are here to advocate and discuss the proposed donation agreement of the building in Neal Park that was jointly presented by both us and the City of Oak Harbor at the April 15th City Council meeting. Girl Scouts has a rich history within Oak Harbor community, and the Girl Scout House in Neal Park has served as a meeting space and a gathering space and a growing and a learning space for the Girl Scout troops for nearly 7 decades. Girl Scouts of Western Washington has been able to utilize the facility and open up access to local scouts. Girl Scouts is a space for hosting troop meetings and skill building activities thanks to a lease agreement with the City of Oak Harbor. When our latest lease expired last fall, we reviewed current usage of the space and reached out to the city so that together together, we could put together a new agreement that maximizes access and use of this vital community resource. As of the April 15th Oak Harbor Joint Council meeting, the Girl Scouts of Western Washington and the City of Oak Harbor presented a proposal to donate the building back to the City of Oak Harbor with a goal of broadening the use of the facility to youth across the Oak Harbor community. The City and Girl Scouts are both committed to preserving this community resource so it remains an asset for current and future youth in Oak Harbor. Girl Scouts of Western Washington remains a youth-centered and community-focused organization as we have been for almost 100 years here in the state of Washington. The intent of this donation agreement is to support both local Girl Scouts and all young people in Oak Harbor and the surrounding areas to ensure that all youth in the communities have access to safe and accessible meeting and program spaces. Our partnership with the City of Oak Harbor aims to ensure ongoing support and maintenance of the Oak Harbor Girl Scout House for generations to come. When it comes to maximizing this utilization, we wanted to provide a bit more context behind our current Girl Scout membership base within the Oak Harbor community and the frequency with which they have been using the space in recent years. With 65 youth members and 58 dedicated volunteers in this region of our council, the Oak Harbor Girl Scout House currently averages about 2 reservations per week between September and June. While we are committed to sustaining the use of the building by current Girl Scouts for many years to come, these numbers demonstrate a clear potential to increase the total use of the space by opening up broader access to the building for additional youth groups and community organizations and meetings. Next slide. We also wanted to share some additional context about how our proposal for the donation agreement has evolved over the past 9 months, thanks in large part to invaluable feedback from our Girl Scout volunteers throughout the community and member households in the Oak Harbor area. When our lease had expired last fall, we solicited and received feedback from Girl Scout volunteers throughout the community around the current use of the Girl Scout House that guided the contents of our new proposal and new proposed lease agreement. And when the donation agreement was tabled for a vote after the April 15th City Council meeting, due to further feedback from the community, we made additional adjustments to the agreement. Specifically, between November of 2024 and May of 2025, we have worked with the city to ensure that Girl Scout usage is honored in the new agreement. Thank you so very much for doing so. Involving clarifying language in the license agreement to include exclusive use for the space by Girl Scouts during their current meeting times and dates that are traditionally held by our troops. Adjusting the reservation holds for Girl Scout use from a seasonal period between September 1 and July 1 to year-round reserved holds for the space. Thank you again. Changing the available time range the space will be held for exclusive Girl Scout use from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. on those days. Thank you so very much for adding that actual cushion in time. Adding day camp to the list of allowable uses for the space and ensuring that with sufficient advance notice that the Girl Scout House could be reserved from Saturday through Sunday additionally for this use. And finally, updating the language in the agreement to clarify that the donation agreement's intent is to sustain and grow Girl Scout use and additional youth services within the space as a way to specifically address the concerns that the building would be converted into an office or a storage space after the new agreement went into effect. Additionally, I do want to reiterate for the City Council that our current lease agreement with the city does not allow for us to donate this building to any entity other than the city. And, just for further clarification, as a 501c3 chartered nonprofit organization in the state of Washington in good standing, only the entity of Girl Scouts of Western Washington, of whom I am the Chief Executive Officer, can make decisions regarding Girl Scout properties. As I know that we have a ton of passionate people that are involved in our work, I just wanted to have that slight point of clarification. Final slide. I hope this presentation offers any additional clarification and context needed to move forward with the proposal, and I am available for any additional questions, as are both my Chief Operating Officer and my Chief Mission Delivery Officer, who's joined me on this opportunity as well. Thank you so very much. Back to the chair. Our mayor.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, I will also mention that Robert Zeinman, who was the city attorney that worked on this agreement with the Scouts, is on if you have any questions for him as well.
Great. Thanks, Andrea, for your presentation again, and thank you again for your meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was nice to sit down and have a conversation with you. At this time, I would like to turn it over for council for any questions or comments that you have. oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. As this is an action item, I forgot about that. We need to verify that we received no public comment first.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments have been received.
Great. And if council so desires, would you allow public comments to be made from those present here this afternoon? All right. Is there anyone present this afternoon that would like to step forward, make a comment? Please step forward to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comment to 3 minutes if you can. Oh, you can sit right here. You can, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. My fault, Jenny. Sit right here. Sit right here. They have that one off for the workshop. It's a different, we do a different procedure for council versus workshop, so. Push the button and turn it on. It'll turn green. The light will turn green. Is it on? Okay.
My name is Jenny Neal. I live at 1134 Old Polnell Road, Oak Harbor, Washington. I was the former service unit manager for Oak Harbor Girl Scouts. And I do apologize, but the jet was going over, so I did not hear. I heard the Monday, Wednesday, Friday hours changing from 3 to 7. I did not hear anything else after that of how the contract had been modified. So can I have a repeat of that? I'm so sorry.
Andrea, could you repeat that, please?
Absolutely, I can. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
Let me just make sure we have it. Yep. So the available time range, moving it from 4 to 7, we asked for it to be from 3 to 9.
3 to 9. Okay, after that, was there anything else that changed in the contract?
We added day camp to the list of allowable uses for the space, and that we asked for, with sufficient advance notice, that the Girl Scout house could be reserved on the weekends. And just to clarify that our intention is to not only preserve it for Girl Scout use, but also to expand it for all youth in the community to leverage it. Those are the two other pieces after the jet.
Okay, thank you so much. So I don't know if council is aware that this building was built by the old, not going to say service unit, but the old entity that was here in Girl Scouts because they could not find a safe place for girls to meet. I do think that is great that we want to open it up to other youth organizations to be able to use, but I do not like the fact that it is still going to be limited to Girl Scouts only being able to use Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and no others could use it because those dates might not work for future troops. Okay, I understand why they want to turn this building over. I totally get it because the cost of the upkeep is supposedly very, very high. But our service unit here in this area would love to be able to create and help support, even if it turns over to city, to help fix that problem and to still keep the building available for youth organizations. I do not think that, maybe if there is a way to set up online that other youth organizations can sign up for certain times and certain days and maybe not limited to just Monday, Wednesdays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know if I'm coming across correctly on this or not. I do understand that need of opening up the building to other youth organizations, but I think putting a time frame or specific dates on it during the week might not be easy for everybody to have access to that building. Because a troop that can meet now on a Monday can't maybe meet anymore, but they need to meet maybe on a Tuesday because that works better for everybody's schedule. And another youth organization, for example, I'm going to say Scouts of America, could use the building on Monday, but then they don't have that access. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it's making it limited for people to schedule their meeting times. So maybe not necessarily putting a limitations on that. But Girl Scouts, the service unit here, would love the opportunity to raise enough money to fix this building and to maintain it. We are ready to put the time and hours in to do that. And if Girl Scouts of Western Washington, I do apologize, is not willing for us to help do that, we would be willing to help with the city council to do it, so where we could have more access and availability. I guess that's what I'm going to end at.
Great. Thank you very much for your comment, Jenny. All right, at this time, I will call upon council for their questions or comments. If there is no further public comment. All right. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and thank you for your comments. I think, Brian, jump in if I speak out of turn, right? Because I do that sometimes. But I think our intentions are not to limit the Girl Scouts' use of the building as much as to make sure that they have first access to it. I think that's the whole intention of the changes in the contract, and I think further, those dates can be manipulated as time goes forward. I picture what I picture is an online reservation system similar to what we have currently going for our other things in the community. Can reserve the kitchens for new. So we have that entity in place to be able to open up online reservations. And the Girl Scouts, obviously, if they needed additional time, would be able to go onto that online reservation service, just like any other group in town, and reserve additional time. I think the main purpose of this is to make sure not to block additional use of the Girl Scouts, but to make sure that the dedicated time are set aside so that we don't find ourselves cutting you out of that. At least I think that's the premise of all this, right? And so I think that's our thought pattern. And with that being our thought pattern, and understanding that I think part of that was to address the concerns earlier that came on when we were all kind of surprised this came up and maybe hadn't been discussed locally, right? And us as a council wanting to make sure that we ensured that the girls that are currently using this building and the troops that are currently using this building would be able to continue to use it. And so I think that's the premise behind all of this. I think we're kind of on the same page when it comes to preserving the use for the Girl Scouts, but then also being able to make better use of the building and have other youth in the community be able to use it, which then justifies possibly in some of our minds the expense that the city is going to be taking on. The fact that you guys are willing to step forward and help us with some of that actually, I think, helps some of us maybe settle into that, because that's our big concern, right? If the city takes us on, we know we're taking on an older building that has some neglected maintenance, that needs some work moving forward, and how does that best benefit the city and the youth of the city? And I think the answer is we ensure the use for the Girl Scouts moving forward. We open this up for other youth groups in the community to be able to use it. And, if we can do this in such a way that it makes sense for everybody, well, then it makes sense. There for a while, it sounded like you guys felt you were being cut out, and I don't think as a council we wanted to see that, and I really don't think the folks in Girl Scouts wanted to see that either. And obviously, we sat down and worked this out. But hopefully, you understand that it's not to, prevent you guys' use. It's actually to ensure the use. And then I think Brian, I have every confidence in his flexibility moving forward and being able to work with you guys to make sure that what appears to be a logical plan to accomplish that actually gets implemented in such a fashion. So, thanks for coming, though.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, what is the intended use of the Big Brothers Big Sisters building when they vacate that?
We're actually having a site visit there this week, and we'll be talking more about that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got that. So I want to say before I make my comments that I very much support the Girl Scouts and their mission and the ability to continue to use that building. I have no objection to that building sitting on city property and the current lease that they have or had, and continuing forward. What I have an issue with is taking on a building and allowing for use at $1 a year, which is inconsistent with what we've just done with our master fee schedule increases. We have We are charging every other youth organization exponentially more to use our public parks. We are charging Navy League more money to use the park for military appreciation picnic. Just across the board, we've raised our master fee schedule to make it so we are doing more cost recovery. And this is, in my opinion, opposite of that. And we have, we know that we've got the utilities to pay for, we've got maintenance to pay for, we've got a potential new roof to put on it, we've got carpeting to do. And we may have a different building, that could be potentially available for programming, for doing youth activities. We've changed the name of the center to the center so we can do more programming with youth as opposed to seniors. And so I just am not in favor of taking on the burden of this building and the maintenance and then allowing for exclusive use and the inconsistency with what we're doing with other youth programs in the city. So.
Thank you for your comments. I just want to point out, though, one quick thing. It's not exclusive use. It wouldn't just be for them. It would also be for others.
We are giving them exclusive use year-round from 7:30 to 9, first and second Wednesdays, exclusive use from 3 to 9, every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, exclusive use during the week. And so these are all things that other organizations have to pay for. If they want exclusivity in the park, they have to pay for that time.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying exclusive, though, would mean that they have it all the time, and they do not. So.
Understood. Okay. The
I'm making a point of
designated
clarification.
times.
There you
Yes,
go.
I appreciate
Yes.
that. Thank you.
Councilmember Romero.
I want to affirm the support that I have for the Girl Scouts in general, and I think it's a wonderful quality to build leadership and camaraderie among the girls. I am concerned about the precedent of taking on this expense for something which, as far as a tangible asset for the city, is not cost effective. I mean, it's just the nuts and bolts of dollars and cents. So it's not a matter of me approving or disapproving about the Girl Scouts, because I've said it publicly and I affirm it privately too, that the Girl Scouts are great. But I think the Girl Scouts probably there's probably a better solution that would address the fact that we're facing fiscal responsibility to the voters, to the taxpayers, to make best use of funds. And by going forward with this by approving this proposal, it sets a certain standard that it would be hard to contradict if some other groups come forward to us with comparable requests. So just, and with regard to the scheduling piece, I mean, there's deconfliction that goes on, but it is true that the contract puts the Girl Scouts first, which is not surprising at all. So that's all I have on that comment right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Mayor Pro Tem had her hand up, and I just wanted to point out quickly that if you'll go back and visit December's vote on the yacht club, that was a very similar thing, and we gave them a sweet deal on use of that. So, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, sorry. I share some of Eric's concerns. I appreciate that we have an opportunity to acquire this building, and I trust Brian Smith's judgment that if this was just going to be a big financial albatross, that we would not be absorbing the building. And so I'm assuming that there is some utility and some benefit to the city. But I guess my concern is what's the rationale behind the $1 a month versus a fee that it would be more in line with the adopted fee schedule? How did we arrive at that decision, and to address the question about, well, if other organizations say, okay, well, will you take on my burden, and then let me continue to use this space? How do we respond to that?
Robert, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, I can. I think the rationale for that was that there's value in in the building, I think they had was either their assessed value or maybe even they had an appraisal. And it was worth. I'm going to say about $50,000. Granted that that's before the maintenance that has to be done on it, and there is some issues with some maintenance and possibly a new roof needed. It looks like, but nonetheless, that building has value, and I think what the Girl Scouts were looking for was some sort of in exchange for the value of the building that the Scouts built. They were thinking that they would get this deal on the rent basically for 5 years.
Thank you. That makes sense. Yeah, so they are trading something of value in exchange for something of value. So that I think that satisfactorily answers my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody else? Councilmember Stuckey.
Yeah, a couple things, and a quick note on that yacht club. There's 4 members of council here who were here for that vote, and 3 of us voted no. So I understand as a body, it was voted yes, but there's only 1 member of council currently on who voted yes for that yacht club contract, which the tie was broken by the mayor at the time. No, it was not, no, at the time. Brian, do you get the impression, because I remember when they presented last time, there seemed to be a little bit of conflict between the state level and the local level. Locally, do you get the feeling that they're for this agreement as a whole? I mean, I know that's subjective, but what's your feeling?
I've heard different things from people at the local level. I think their main concern is that the Girl Scouts continue to have a place to meet, and whatever, in whatever way that is best accomplished is what they're really after. They would like, the majority seems like they would like the governing body to continue to own and provide that for them. Most of them do understand, the budget concerns. The Girl Scouts of Western Washington have been moving away from these kinds of facilities and just operating the camp type facilities. So this is somewhat unique, but that's kind of just from the few conversations I've had.
Sure, and that's all you.
I wouldn't want to speak to.
Nope, that's all you can go on. I mean, I guess I'm struggling with if there's this passion within the local club, is there any reason why they can't, assuming they still owned it, that they could lease it out to other organizations? Is there a reason, can they not legally do that?
They're the same entity. They can't lease it to the local chapter. They file under the same umbrella as the national chapter. So they roll up into the national chapter. They can't do that.
I guess I'm just maybe confusing the inner workings. Can the national chapter allow the building to be rented out for other reasons? Like they're making a decision though. Their decision is that they've made the tough decision that there are certain areas where they have to make cuts, and this is one of those areas where this is their resolution is that they're trying to propose that they're working in tandem with cities and communities to partner to help bring this to resolution. Gotcha. So just so I'm clear, all the decisions then are on the national level, none of them are on the local level.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I can jump in to answer some questions on that if you would like.
Please.
Okay. The way this kind of unusual donation agreement was done in the 1957 is it also had some conditions, like the city gave the Scouts the ability to build this building and kind of have it in perpetuity. But one of the conditions, I believe, I'm just pulling this up, was that they have to use it for scouting purposes. And so I'm not sure that the Scouts could, while they own the building, or lease it out to other entities. As you were suggesting, because I think that might be a violation of the kind of donation agreement that was done originally. But if the city takes it over, then the city can do what it wants essentially. you can lease it. You can have the Scouts use it. You can have other groups use it, and other ways consistent with this license agreement that we're looking at.
I guess, I mean, for me, I too struggle with that dollar. I mean, I understand that they're donating the building, but I do struggle with that factor as well. And I hear what is being said on the local level to help raise funds and things like that, but none of those are guarantees. So it is a difficult decision.
So at the end of the day, Councilmember Arms, did you want to add something? Okay, Councilmember Arms.
Yeah, it is a difficult decision, but it's something that's been here for a long time, like a lot of our sports. I know it's not a lot of money. I don't know how to solve the problem unless they can raise donations, but we don't know if that's going to happen. The Boys and Girls Club, we don't know if that's what's going to happen with that. I wish it wasn't a 5-year. If it was like a 2-year, where we would be able to look at it, see if they're raising funds, see how it's working, see where we're at, rather than doing a 5-year. That would give them more chance. That would give them more chance to prove that this is really important and that we're getting it together and we're doing what we need to. I don't know, I'm kind of in the same bind. I mean, I think it's important. It's something we don't want to lose, and the girls are losing it. It would be like giving up the ball field. And so I don't really know how to solve that unless we shorten the lease and said, let's give it 2 years. Let's see what they raise. Let's see what we're doing, see where we are financially. And then if we see we're really in the hole, you know, we've learned our lesson and then we move on. But like we said, we let the yacht club have it practically for nothing, and now we're, you know, now we're in the same spot that we were with them, and now we need to make a decision.
So Andrea has her hand up, so I would just like to call on her really quickly. And then I just want to point out to you all that 50,000 divided by 60 months is $833.33 a month that they would be paying in rent, essentially. So with that, Andrea, back to you.
Thank you so very much, Mayor and council members. All of these questions are amazing. I just wanted to offer some context that we wanted to partner with the city and have it be a win-win situation as much as possible so that the Girl Scouts still had a dedicated space and the city could support this building in their community to be a better place for more young people. I also want to just offer a little bit of clarification around our model of being a council. We are, the Girl Scouts of Western Washington is one of 110 councils, Girl Scout councils in the country. So we are our own 501c3, and we are a council in good standing with our Girl Scouts of the United States. But we are our own 501c3 entity, so it is us making these decisions around our business model and our financial ability to sustain and maintain this particular building from that is within our purview at this time. I hope that offers a little bit of a clarification. I know that there were some comments around a national overview, so I'm available for additional questions should there be more clarification.
Perfect. Council, thank you very much for that. Councilmember Wittgenstein. Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the presentation. I'm in the same boat with everybody else in here. I just gotta, you know, I was on that council with, I'm gonna go back to Councilmember Stuckey and what he said about the marina. I was one of those that wasn't in favor of that. I think it should have been done differently, and we've worked really hard to try to keep these fee scales as equal across the board between all of our service organizations that provide youth activities. And as much as I love the Scouts and everything else, this building just feels like it's on its last legs. It needs a lot of work, and we're being asked to take it on, and the liabilities that come with it. And I'm sure that there's ways that helping the local Girl Scout organization we can do. as well, but to me, that doesn't seem like that's part of what we should be discussing today necessarily. This is strictly about the state level having a building they want to donate to the city for us in a contract and whatnot, and I'm with it too. I think we need to stop doing favors and let's continue to set the standard and make it where it needs to be. So as it is right now, I would not be in favor of this. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Were you about to say something?
No,
You were, oh, okay, I thought you were gonna summarize something. Everybody brings up good points, and but as I'm looking at the backup documentation here and going over all of our previous conversations, I know that a lot of time and effort and energy has gone into devising and drafting the agreement as it's put in front of us. I think that obviously the Girl Scouts, they have their motivation and their needs and their position, but I also, our legal department and our Parks and Rec department and our administration, I don't think would be compromising our position by agreeing to any of the terms that they've put in front of us. So at the end of the day, I'm going to default to the expertise of the people who know a lot more than I do that have put this agreement together and are willing to stand behind it and think it's in the best interest of the city. So if Parks and Rec supports it, if the legal department supports it, if finance supports it, if the administration supports it, then there must be something to it. So, while it's not ideal, probably, and we could probably discuss it for another 3 years if we wanted to. I'm gonna pull the trigger and assume that we are doing what's in the best interest of all the parties. And I move to approve Resolution 25-13, accepting the donation of real property and authorizing the mayor to enter into a donation agreement and a license agreement with Girl Scouts of Western Washington.
Second.
So we have a motion as presented by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Mero. Before I call for a vote, is there any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that of the other options, right? The city certainly has the option to not accept the building. That's our option. And the Girl Scouts then do have an option, which is in their contractual clause, which is to raise the building, right, ultimately. And I'd hate to think that we're forcing that decision, right? Because that and again, that would be a decision that would be out of our hands, from what I understand from the original 1957 lease, because that's what it says. At such time as they're done using it, don't they ultimately have that decision?
The city can buy the building at market value, or the city can require the Girl Scouts to raise the building.
So
That's correct.
Those are our other options, right? We either work out something with them to, continue the use of the building. If the city does not want to take it on and does not want to buy it, leaves it in limbo land unless we then require them to tear it down. I mean, it could literally just sit there and run into a state of disrepair. The other thing I just want to point out is as much as it's an old clunker, not overly attractive building, although the mural on the side and stuff has helped, but we really don't have a real good track record with tearing down infrastructure and then getting something built to replace it. And it's kind of interesting, the record we do have of that, of course, is as soon as it leaves, that's when we realize, holy cow, we could have used it for this, or gee, we really didn't realize how much that building was used, or the potential of that building, until after it's gone, and then all of a sudden we're kind of like, boy, if we only just had that building. So before we go to a vote, because I kind of get the feeling that we may be on a right on the edge is whether we got a winning vote. I guess what I would pose to, Councilmember Stuckey and Marshall, would you feel a more comfortable if we had a 2-year checkup in this thing, that we negotiated this for a 2-year lease, and then you have the ability at the 2-year mark to revisit the costs, the expenses associated with the agreement with the Girl Scouts, their dedicated use, the amount we're charging them, and the amount of other use that the building has. I mean, by that point in time, of course, we would be owning this building, right? But this is coming down to the discussion of the equitable charge to the organization, who obviously is going through some revamping and rebuilding post-COVID, and whether or not we're charging a commensurate amount, understanding that we are taking on an asset if we see it as an asset. Now, if everybody says this is not an asset, it's never going to be an asset, it's just a building that needs to go away, well, then, that's a whole nother discussion than what we've got in front of us right now for a proposal, right? But in order to get to something that we can all agree on, would a shorter timeline make a difference?
Councilmember Stuckey.
It would make it a little more palatable, but it'd still be difficult for me. A couple reasons. One, I'm assuming by 2 years, we still would have spent that initial roof replacement and carpet money. So on the low end, on the estimate, we're in it for $35K, which I get in the scheme of a city budget is a small amount, but it's $35,000 still. We also have the maintenance for the 2 years. And then let's say after 2 years, and utilities. But let's just say after 2 years, it just doesn't work out. The local Girl Scouts have just abandoned it. Well, now we have this building. Brian, do we have some good plans for this building, or is this kind of we'll get it and figure it out later sort of a scenario?
No, with the adjusted time frame that gives us a couple days a week to program it, I don't know what that would look like. I don't have a solid plan for how we would utilize it after. While these times are the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday is exclusive use for the Girl Scouts, that doesn't limit them from being able to use the building at other times. And, so I imagine the predominant use would be for the Girl Scouts. Whether we can do additional things that would bring in any kind of revenue is something we'll have to kind of organically work into there. Right.
The other thing I have an issue with, and it's kind of all been alluded to, and we don't know for sure, but seems to be this conflict between what the local folks, local as in this city, want, and what the state, because it's not national, it's state, want. And I'm not super comfortable with, last time we had the meeting here, and there was a lot more people from the local, they seemed pretty much, we don't want this to happen. Maybe more details, but they didn't want this to happen. We only had one person show up this time, which can also go to show there's not a huge passion one way or another. Sure. Brian, in your conversations, obviously you're not speaking for them. I understand that, but it seemed lean towards at least it's not anywhere close to unanimous that this is what's wanted on a local level. So I'm having trouble with it. Just seems like be this little tiff between state and local. And I mean, for all we know, we do it. State's happy, and the local troop just doesn't like the agreement. I mean, so does it make it more palatable? Yes. Does it change my vote? Probably not. I just feel more comfortable if it went the other way.
Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's same for me too. That 2 years difference doesn't make it much of a difference for me. It's we're prioritizing something because somebody came and asked, but we know we've had deferred maintenance on parks. We've had the girls softball come and ask us about fixing up their things. We've not. And I know that we're facing some issues with it being city property or school property versus city, but we're prioritizing this because it's come forward as an ask, and it's inconsistent with what we've been doing with other things. I have an issue with the comparison to the yacht club in that they are still paying their, even though they got a honey of a deal, and I didn't support it then, and I still don't support it now, but they are paying their own utilities, they are paying their own maintenance, they are paying for everything on that building that we would now be absorbing as a city. So my question is to Bob, can we rewrite that original agreement to allow them to do other to allow them to rent out that space if they wanted to use it as a revenue source? Can they rent it out then to other clubs? I mean, as the legislative body of the city, is that something that we can do, is rewrite that original agreement?
Remember that, again, the difference there is the yacht club owns their building. The Girl Scouts are surrendering the building to the city. So there's a stark difference in your comparison there.
The Girl Scouts still own the building. They're asking us to take it on, but they still own the building themselves. We own the land, just like the yacht club.
I didn't think that was the agreement. Is that the agreement that they're
They
gonna still
own the
it?
building currently. They're trying to give it to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the Girl Scouts building. Which one are you asking? You mean the existing the license agreement, the new one, or are you talking about the way
so
back?
what we've been
original
told, right, is
donation?
that what we've been told is that the lease agreement does not allow them to rent out that space to anybody else. That do we have the ability to rewrite that lease agreement so then they could make it where they make money off of it, potentially for future repairs or maintenance or whatever they want to do with that?
Yeah, there might be a way to redo that. I mean, the Girl Scouts would have to agree with that, and I don't know that it depends what they would want, or if that's anything that they would have any interest in doing. So we'd have to explore that first, and then after that, take a look at the legal possibilities. But probably something could be done legally. But that would it would take a lot of discussion, I think, with the Girl Scouts to see what that.
Well, ultimately, if we just say no to this, if we say no to taking the building, the building still remains theirs, and it's their card to play at that point, correct?
It does, but I think Councilmember, was it Wiesner? I mean, made some good points about how there's a scenario where they could just kind of walk away from the building, and there's also a provision that says if the building deteriorates and becomes sort of I forget the language, but if it deteriorates too much, then the city takes it back. That's the reason for the city to take it back. The city can make the Girl Scouts tear it down. I guess that's the other option. The Girl Scouts could try to, I don't know, that's their business decision. I don't know what their situation is or what they could do with it.
My understanding from the original agreement is we can either buy it at fair market value, or if they do not, if they choose to abandon it, then we can ask them to tear it down or require that they tear it down.
Yes.
Okay, but ultimately, it's their hand to play then. If we say no, the choice is theirs.
Yes. And then the other piece was you asked if we could try to find ways for them to be able to use them, I guess essentially rent it out to other uses. If the Girl Scouts wanted to do that, again that's a whole nother discussion with them.
What I believe I heard in the presentation was the lease precludes them from having the ability to lease it out to other people, and so we can change that language, correct?
Well, that was actually the original donation, not the lease. There's like a lease, and then there's a dedication. It was dedicated to them.
Robert, I believe that the Girl Scouts, they could jump in and clarify this, but I believe that they do currently rent out the building at certain times. That doesn't seem to happen very often, but they do currently do that. What's that?
I'm going to, if I can, esteemed council members, this is Andrea Anderson. If I can, I'm going to have my COO step in and just do a little bit of clarifying for our usage, if she wouldn't mind, Nicole.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. So I'm in alignment with Robert that the language regarding our ability to use it for scout activities came from the initial donation agreement, which dates back, I believe, to the 1950s. And so I've had both our lawyer on our side, and I know the city council has had Robert look at this as well, and it's very clear from the legal language that we don't have other options for either gifting this building to somebody else out of the city or using it for purposes outside of scout activities. So that's our challenge there. I think the other layer to this is just, again, the conversation around what our options are, and just wanting to highlight that we really want to continue to support Girl Scouts within the community. We see this as a great partnership opportunity opportunity with the city of Oak Harbor to be able to do that, as well as provide additional options for youth to meet, safe spaces for youth within the community as a whole to meet. So thank you for the time, but Robert, let me know if there's anything else on your end that I missed, but that was from the 1950s agreement.
Thank you.
But could we write in a new lease agreement that they have that option?
Well, what you're talking about isn't a lease agreement. It's actually a dedication. They actually dedicated that plot of land to give the scouts a building to build on it, and then they did so. And so it's a really weird legal situation, to be honest. Where they have this building that was dedicated that they built, but then it's on the city's land, and there's some weird terms about, like, if they don't do certain things, the city can, like, take back the dedication, and it's something that I would never draft today, to be honest. But that's what's there.
Okay, so where we are is we have a motion, we have a second, we have taken additional comments. I'm prepared to call for a vote if there are no additional comments. Looking to those online before I call for a vote. Hearing no additional comments, I'm going to say all in favor. Do we need to reread the motion as presented, or are you all comfortable with what it is at this point? Everyone's good? Head nods would be great, okay. All right, so all in favor, raise your right hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, all opposed. Chris had his hand up too. Chris is a no. So we're 3 in favor. Okay, all opposed, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3 in favor, 4 opposed, so that does not pass. All right. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Just so I'm going to kind of recap, because obviously we didn't solve anything. So it sounds like the issue for the rest of council isn't necessarily the amount of money that we're charging and collecting based upon other organizations and such like that, because of course that could be resolved through, tightening up the timelines and stuff. But it sounds more like we're concerned about taking on a building that we really don't have a need for, that everybody's afraid is going to cost us a lot of money to operate, and it's just going to be a money pit. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that, to get back to, trying to figure out a solution, right? Yeah.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Just speaking for me, I would say I do have an issue with the dollar, but that issue is much smaller than the statement that you just made. Yes.
All right, we're good there. Let's move on to the Police Department annual update. Introducing today is our Police Chief, Tony Slowick.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Chief Slowick, and I'm here to present the Police Department's annual update. The last time I presented the annual update was last August, so this is information since last August. So in 2025, I just want to say, the beginning of 2025, thank you. We did have an increase in staffing, thanks to City Council. And I'll go back here. And we've added 5 new positions, which we're actively filling as we getting into this staffing slide. I'll show you that. But this year, we, in conjunction with the city's, one of the city all-hands events that we had, we were able to get with our photographer, and we got a new department photo. So this was our new department photo in Windjammer Park, or one of them. Additionally, through the year, since the last year, we worked on our 5-year strategic plan. And in doing that, we revised our mission for the police department, and we revised our values. And that was all done in conjunction with police staff. We had 5 different staff meetings. We did a community survey, and we worked with our Police Community Advisory Board. So this is our new mission, which is the Oak Harbor Police Department is dedicated to community safety through proactive law enforcement, community engagement. We strive to uphold the values of respect, integrity, and excellence while protecting the lives and property of all those who live, work, and visit our community. We wanted to make sure that we tied our values into our mission and then what the community should be expecting out of us. Our new values are respect, integrity, and excellence. As I mentioned earlier, we added 5 new positions this year. Currently, we have one of those positions filled. That person is at our police academy. So we have current 4 vacancies, and those are the blue officer positions in the bottom. So 2 are in our patrol division, one's a traffic officer, and then one's a drug detective. Additionally, we have 1 lieutenant position that's vacant, which is represented in blue, and we have 1 lieutenant position that's green, who we've identified the candidate, and that person's going through our background process. The green person is an external person to the department, is in law enforcement in Washington State, and we're expecting to hopefully onboard that person in the next 2.5 months. The second lieutenant position will be filled with an internal hire or internal promotion. Additionally, we've got a few other changes that are happening that aren't reflective on this because we've had some changes just recently this week. We have 1 records person that's going to be leaving, and we have a records supervisor that's leaving at the end of the month as well. So our core focus, these are our proactive areas. We used to call them 5+2. We've migrated away from that language, but it's our 5 focus areas outside of response to calls for service and just some discretionary time. And those are schools, parks, downtown, traffic, and community. We have a tracker that we're using, and this data that we have for that little pie chart is what we have so far for 2025 on sort of where our areas are as officers identify the activities that they're doing. So this could be, for example, schools. It could be traffic enforcement before and after school. It could be school engagement, meaning they're at the school playing activities with the students, providing presentations to the schools. For parks, it could be that we're in our parks on our bicycle or e-bikes, or providing activities or engagement during park activities that are occurring. Downtown is often our special events and also walking and just engaging with our business community. Traffic enforcement is really our specific designated traffic emphasis. And then just other community engagements as we do either coffee with a cop or other activities throughout the community. It's going to be safety fairs, those type of things. So some of our big accomplishments in the last year are that, one, we got reaccredited through Washington's Sheriff and Police Chiefs Association. That accreditation is the first time we've ever had a reaccreditation. It was a big lift for us at the police department because it looked at a 4-year look back on all our activity that we had, including our evidence, including our use of force, our policies, report writing, all of those type of things. So big lift for us, major accomplishment. Our next accreditation cycle is in 2028. Like I said, that we completed a 5-year strategic plan. That 5-year strategic plan will go in, I think on the next slide, I'll give you some more details to that. We revised our mission, vision, and values. We launched professional standards and compliance software at the beginning of the year. This brings us in compliance with Senate Bill 5259 and the RCW. The biggest thing for that is as of September 2nd, which is just next week, we're going to have to start reporting all of our use of force data to the state through, it's called WADEPS. It's the Attorney General's office and Washington State University have a dashboard that they've created. So that's one of the things that we are working through. Our professional standards software will help us with that mandatory reporting and ensure that we are reporting accurate and timely information per state law. Through your support, we've transformed our fleet, and we've moved from pool vehicles to assigned vehicles. While that adds more vehicles to our fleet, what it does is it reduces our mileage. We're going from no longer having 3 people per 1 patrol car to now individual people to 1 patrol car, and it's extending our fleet to about a 15-year fleet cycle. So instead of a car being replaced every 5 to 6 years, it's now being held for about 15 years. Increases our visibility in the community, allows us to have a quicker response to emergency calls. So, additionally, through your support, we've updated our technology, and we've gone from shared devices, desktop devices, and shared computers in cars to assigned laptop devices. This allows for better monitoring of our officers, allows for quicker report writing, and has definitely enhanced some of the technology deployments that we've had, because officers are able to have one device and instead of having multiple officers on one shared device, where sometimes we had 5 people using one device, which was sometimes challenging for cybersecurity for us. And then Citizens Academy, that's just another big accomplishment, and we've got it coming up, so I just want to make a shameless plug. If anybody, we still have a few seats if anybody's interested, and it starts on September 18th. So part of our strategic plan really are 4 strategic priorities. It's our recruitment, retention, organizational efficiencies, accountability and transparency, and our growth management. Through this strategic plan was really identifying, where are we going, how are we going to get there, and what goals are we achieving, and so through that we have, of those 4 strategic priorities, we have 11 individual objectives and 49 action items. I'll be posting that strategic plan to our website soon. With the help of Maggie, we're actually revitalizing or updating our PD website, and I'll be providing you guys a paper copy of that strategic plan as well. So we saw an increase in our calls for service over 2023, bringing us more in line with 2021. 2022 is still an outlier on years for high volumes of calls for service. A lot of that was experienced throughout all of fire and law, that there was a large increase in calls for service. I know I just went to a regional police and sheriff's meeting, and they talked about 2022 still being an outlier year, but we did have an increase from over last year. Additionally, we had an increase in the number, so a little bit decrease in the number of misdemeanor arrests we had for 2024 over 2023, however, trending upward over a 5-year look back. Felony arrests, we had increase in felony arrests, increase in criminal traffic citations and arrests, and then a decrease in our traffic infractions. I'll say a lot of that decrease in traffic infractions is having a lot of young officers that just haven't really, they spend more time working investigations and don't have a lot of discretionary time where they're doing traffic enforcement. That will change as they get a little more experience, can get through their investigations quicker, and then have some more time on their hands available to do. What's that? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a traffic guy. I would love to be out there. We have had significant increases in our public records requests. We're almost to 1,000 public records requests. That includes body-worn camera requests as well. It just continually is increasing. As we add more technology, we're getting more requests for those items, and so that's just something we have to pay attention to. One of the positions that we added this year was a 4th record specialist. That person is doing body-worn camera and public records requests. That's all their job is. So that'll help take a load off of other staff. And then, as we talk about regional activities that we had just recently, earlier this month, we had a drug task force operation south of Oak Harbor. 14 pounds of drugs were seized, a couple firearms, and $50,000. And then also, even just this morning, we have 7 people that were involved in an operation in Skagit County, and I was told it was a little over 20 pounds of methamphetamine were recovered and over 14 firearms. So significant regional operations that we have that is really impactful to our community, makes our community safer and our region safer. One of the big things that we've experienced this last year, and I think that everybody, we've had a couple different public forums, and that is the engagement with SPIN and our human services partnerships. So I think I felt like it was really important to just sort of identify what activities our human services partnerships are doing. A lot of these things, specifically co-response, that typically is a mental health professional that works out of the police department and a police officer that are spending 10 to 11 hours per week down at SPIN or doing that co-response in that area or part of our community. Additionally, we have Recovery Navigator program, they're doing about 10 hours a week down at SPIN. There's opioid outreach that's doing 2 hours a week at SPIN, housing assistance, and other outreach activities. So there's a lot of activities and staff that are either city staff or Island County staff that are putting a lot of energy, time into our homeless and addicted outreach, and just wanted to identify that.
So 34 hours a week we're dedicating to Spin Cafe and the homeless situation.
So this is, yes, sir. So 35, so it's about 35 hours per week is the human services activity. So this could be county staff, but.
Sure, but
yeah,
it's combined.
Yeah, 100%.
Which
Yeah.
is why I just wanted that
Yes,
in
sir.
public record.
It's combined and it's very significant. Yeah. And then we had a lot of community engagement this year, specifically National Night Out is always a big event for us. Sounds like I need to put a LTAC request in the next couple weeks. So I get the Dick's Burger truck out there, maybe. No. We have our Citizen Academy. We have done a couple different activities with our seniors, specifically like at Regency and the schools. But I do want to identify, this year we partnered with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. There were 14 law enforcement agencies and at least, I don't know, it was all the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Snohomish County organizations. They sent teams to Marysville. We sent an officer to go with 2 teams from Oak Harbor. It was called the Rocket League. It was a video game league that was performed, and that was that bottom left-hand corner there. So pretty good community engagement with that, and just engagement with our youth, and a real positive experience that I heard from the director at the Boys and Girls Club. So. And I think that's it. So I'm happy to answer any questions or.
Questions, comments? Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that presentation, Chief. Of the 35 hours a week we're spending at Spin Cafe, are you seeing any results from that? I mean, or is it just time that you're having to, are there success stories?
Yeah.
Are there results? I mean, or is it just time that you're having to spend down there?
So I'll say we live on an island and we have very limited resources. So I think the challenge we have are, Washington State is a state that really has identified individuals' rights over community safety. And the legislatures in Washington State have said that people can decline to have services. So there are only 2 entities, a police officer or a designated crisis responder, who can involuntarily take somebody to a mental health or a hospital for an assessment. Often our designated crisis responders cover Whatcom, Skagit, Island, and San Juan counties. So that person might be on San Juan Islands and not available to respond here, or Whatcom County can't respond here. And we don't have any guaranteed mental health beds. So that's a challenge there. The closest mental health beds that we have are Providence Medical Center in Everett and St. Joe's in Bellingham. Each just have a few beds, but that's for a Snohomish all the way to the border area, big area. The SPIN entity itself has a place. It's a day shelter. It's a place for people to congregate. However, there are, like I've said before, there are probably 20 to 30 people who need those services and are looking for day shelter. And then there's the other people who decline to use, they're going there for food or going there to take advantage of the people that are there getting shelter services. And then are still out in our community, vandalizing property or shoplifting or doing other things. So it's very challenging to say what is an excess or success or what's getting done. I know that we've had some overdoses at SPIN. That's very challenging. I think for me, the challenging piece of that SPIN property is not having a fence around it and having people segregated from just people being able to walk through parking lots, Walmart parking lot into the back area and just not knowing who's on the property for that business or entity. So that probably isn't even the question you asked. So what was the question you asked?
It was a very politically correct answer.
I'm going on a
And
tangent
well
here,
done.
so.
I mean, you should sit up here. No, I appreciate the answer on that. Of the lieutenant position, how many internal candidates did you have?
We had 2 candidates. Initially, it was 6. 4 were external. 3 of those external were out of state. 1 was in-state, and then 2 internal, so 6 total. The day of the testing, it was the 1 in-state person and 2 internal, so 3 that tested. All 3 passed, and I did offer a conditional offer to the 1 external, and then as we move through this year, we'll do an internal promotion as well.
Excellent. That's exciting. All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
Councilmember Stuckey?
I will say, I stop by the movie theater often, and I do often see officers down in that area. And it's not that they're always even investigating or anything. They're just being present. I mean, oftentimes I'll see them on their laptops in the parking lot or things like that. So just having a presence down there is greatly appreciated, and they've always been wonderful to work with the times I've had to.
Thank you.
The only question I have is the calls for service.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, I understand 2020, but like way high in 22, then a big dip in 23. Like, what are we attributing all those?
That's tough.
I mean, it's a big swing. It's not like a little.
Yeah, so I'll say I think that we, looking at since last November, we've had a decrease in calls for service from actually SPIN calling 911 in that area. So we've had a decrease there. However, we've had an increase from just other activities. It's you're within a couple hundred is what you're looking at. I know that chart is probably it's not to scale, so it gives you an illusion that it's a big swing, but it's within a couple hundred.
Now that I look at, because it looks like on here, it looks like it's double.
I know.
But then when I actually see it, you're right. It's like 400.
I blame PowerPoint.
Fair enough.
For that.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I'm assuming that 35 hours a week, and I see that's, with a, varying, with the resource folks and et cetera. But is the vast majority of that, during SPIN's operating hours?
Oh, for sure.
Have we considered doing something similar to what we've done with an SRO down there?
You mean
having
an officer?
Having a dedicated officer in that area of town. In that area of town, which we've talked about before as being, an entertainment area or something, and we've even talked about, naming it something like that, simple shopping area, maybe coming up with some special rules to help keep the drugs out of there. But if we're spending 35 hours a week there, that's almost one full-time dedicated officer.
Certainly.
It seems to me as though relationship building is part of that, right? That's part of why we develop the SRO, right? Response time, but building of relationships, becoming familiar with people. But we also do understand that we've got two different issues down there at Spin Cafe. We have some of the people who just don't want to play by the rules, but then we have the people that are coming in and actually victimizing those people, right? That are coming in, especially at the first of the month when they know they have the money coming in.
Sure.
They know when their checks have arrived. And it seems to me if maybe we had somebody down there dedicated that portion of the equation, the people coming in that really aren't coming there for the service, that may be something that we could start to proactively, prevent, with that staffing. And I know maybe I'm all wet, but again, 35 hours adds up to basically a full-time officer.
Sure. Totally respect what you're saying. I think the challenge is that we can look in similar jurisdictions. Mount Vernon has a day shelter. Burlington has an overnight shelter, day shelter and overnight shelter. Neither one of those locations has the activity that we have. Both of those locations are designed differently than what we have. They're not placing their shelter right down smack dab at an intersection that has their busiest, largest box stores and those type of things. Or right next to entertainment like movie theaters or near, whatever, in that area. I think one of the challenges, besides location, is the staff at Spin willing to manage their own clientele who is on the property and those things. I think the layout of the facility is inadequate for what they're of the services they're trying to provide. And we're just trying to react to that. So I'm all in favor of a business district officer that does work the business district areas and has that thing. And I know that Deputy Chief Barton and I often talk about having different zones in Oak Harbor and assigning staff for that. The struggle we have is our minimum staffing is 3 officers, and often I am right at that 3 officer minimum right now because we're still trying to get people through our police academy. We need to still hire those few other officers to get us an extra body on each shift. I think at the end of the day, if we probably were on a 10-hour shift, it might be, and there was overlapping shifts, that might be a little bit easier. At the same time, I would flex back to the school. They pay for 50% of a police officer. So it's really easy to put somebody in the schools to have all that engagement. Spin's not putting up a fence. They're not even paying for a fence or surveillance cameras or anything like that. I don't think they're going to be willing to put up an officer, and I don't know a way to. I don't think I can flex my current staffing without adding more bodies to accommodate that.
Well, it would seem to me that, reactive obviously is a good word, but that's what we've got to get away from, right? I mean, and reactive for staffing's hard too, right? When you're reacting, whereas if you had a dedicated staff member there, the other folks are all out in the community doing their thing, and you're not having to rush down there to react to something, and pull off of something else in the community. I think, I certainly would support creating a zone, because I think the zone does give us the ability to look at even things such as the type of alcohol being sold in that zone. They've done that in other cities. Obviously, we can put higher restrictions on what happens if we do catch somebody with drug use, similar to what we've got in our school zones. And I don't know, I'm gonna speak for maybe some of the business owners down there. I'm certainly a business property owner down there and have our fair share of vandalism and issues. And I know there's another council member here that maybe within that zone that the merchants might not be willing to step up and pay some sort of an additional fee in that zone for some sort of additional protection. And sounds like a crazy idea, but the reality is, I know the amount of money I spend annually on fixing those issues. I would much rather give that money to you and be proactive and prevent those issues from happening than me having to be reactive and run down there and take care of those issues. And I think there might be some other business owners feel that same way. So I don't want you to totally take that concept out of the thought. But I get that we've got a different challenge down there, and that's why we have to deal with it in different ways, right? And so obviously we just all need to continue to work together to come up with those solutions.
Yeah, I think if this was Aurora Boulevard and this was a prostitution issue, and we knew that that's what was going on, there's a way to do an emphasis and deal with that. This is a day shelter that's bringing people from all over the island and other places here to provide a service, and there's no check and balance. Now, the challenge with that is, how much money is the county supporting, in spin? How much money, when they come to different organizations or applying for grants, there's some management of it that way, I think. I do intend next month to come back to council to talk about stay out of designated area ordinance, which I think will be helpful for our business communities in identifying those people that are actively doing open drug use or actively committing crime and they have drugs on them. I think that's a way to leverage an ordinance and a court order that the court has, gives the court more power, not the police department. So I think that's an option as well to have a conversation about.
And let's face it, those ordinances, are not targeted at a specific group or individual. They're targeted at anybody who can't follow the rules.
Yeah.
Period.
It's activity. We're saying we don't want this type of
which is a similar discussion we had with our parks, right? Though none of the ordinances we looked at when passing in our parks had, were pinpointing anybody. It was, I don't care who you are. You go down and you walk through our parks with a gun and you decide to urinate on a tree, and it doesn't matter if it's myself or the mayor. Not that we'd ever do that. We are subject to the same thing. It's not a target going after individuals. So I don't want people to think that that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure out how to solve a solution, and obviously there's a group of folks that are probably going to be impacted more by those regulations than others, just like any other rule or regulation.
But we have voluntary services, and we want to offer that to them as well.
Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I've been holding out all this time. So I love the new mission statement.
Thank you.
Again, repeat, I love it. It's great. And I am thrilled with the development and growth of the enforcement piece and the public safety piece. So good on you, good on your department as we move forward with that. With regard to the drug bust recently, I read about it in the newspaper too, and I would just state that the drug dealers and those who are ancillary, stand to gain from it, are really predators, which can have the effect of basically destroying the social structure of our community. I've seen it in other towns, and so it makes me ponder about something like Spin Cafe, where my understanding is they refuse to put up a fence. Is that my understanding? No. Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that when you have drug traffickers who stand to gain financially, and some of them too are dependent on the substances that they are selling, and then they're using their tax what do you call it, benefits, or not the tax benefit, but their benefit checks from the state to buy drugs. I mean, I did law enforcement. I know exactly what goes on. You don't have to explain to me what's going on here. And so if they're not putting up a fence, it obviously implies that if they're not complicit, do they stand anything to gain by having it open like that so that people can come and bring drugs to the people who are actually residents there who are really trying to get off? So, as they say in so many words, that money's behind a lot of vice, shall we say. But in any case, I appreciate the strength that you rolling up your sleeves so we can do some muscular law enforcement and and get the drug dealers off the island as much as we're able to. Okay. And I also wanted to mention, too, this matter about feeling safe. I've heard this over and over again. And they say, I want to feel safe. And I look at them and I say, you want to be safe. You don't want to feel it. I mean, because what I'm saying is if you feel safe and the shark is out to get you, you're not safe. So what I'm saying is that as we build up our safety factor with regard to constructive citizens who build up our community, that they need to be safe, not just feel safe. Let's see. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Well, we believe in ordered liberty because just rank liberty ends up being chaos and predatory behavior. So I'm just doing that for the public record, that ordered liberty is required because lawlessness will prevail if you just pull out all stops and say do whatever you feel like doing no matter what the consequences to anybody else. So ordered liberty. There's so much more I could say. I'm not going to do it. I do want to ask you, though, with regard to the open records request. Of the open records request increases, I mean, do you have any sense or the pulse about how many of them are not exactly idle, but just troublemakers for no reason? Do you understand the general gist of it?
I think there are some people who are consistently asking for records, so that's a challenge. So it's not an individual looking for one record. There's people who make their money off of like body-worn camera video for incidents, and then they post them to social media.
Okay.
You know, there's those type of things. Well, each time that you release a body-worn camera video, it's about 15 minutes of redaction for every minute of video, and it's a challenge.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Anyway, you're doing great. Your department's doing great. Great teamwork. Keep on, keep on, keep on.
All right, thanks.
So public records requests are a growing concern for all municipalities across the state, which is why we joined forces through AWC to be one voice at the state level to make sure that we're addressing this and seeing where we can leverage our state legislation to impose some restrictions or things, because there are so many times that people put in these public records requests and we spend hours and hours and hours and resources to put these together, and then they never even come in and pick them up. So, but that's what we're required to do. So.
Can we build them?
No, you can't.
You can build them when they pick it up, but it's.
And you can only build them for copies, yeah, I mean,
You can't build
yeah,
for the time.
it's a very minimal amount of money, so. All right, so Councilmember Wigginstein, Mayor Pro Tem, did you have anything that you wanted to throw at Chief?
Not at the
All right.
moment.
All right, sounds good. So I would just, oh yeah, Chris, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilmember Wigginstein.
Yeah, I just want to thank the chief for giving the update and the continued progress he's making with the department. It's effective and we're seeing it, and I'm real proud to keep supporting that process. So thank you for the report. That's it.
Thank you.
So and one last follow-up to the Spin Cafe and working through these issues. We're going to continue to attend their board meetings. We're going to continue to apply pressure to move in the direction that we would like to see them move, that makes it a better place in that area down there. And, you know, we've even had discussions to say that if they don't start conforming in some areas, that if we need to, we can start looking at making them known as a public nuisance and then working down that path. So there are things that we can do. It's just it's a process that we've got to work through. It's part of the privilege of living in this great country. So with that, if there is nothing else, I want to thank you all, and there being no further business,
To answer a question that was brought up 1 hour and 37 minutes ago during the LTAC portion of the workshop.
Oh.
The answer is,
Always
as far
timely,
as
David.
approving some and like sending some back, the answer is, to the extent the council approved an individual grant as recommended by LTAC, they may do so. To the extent council rejects or wants to change the amount of an LTAC recommendation, those should return to LTAC for the 45-day period.
So yes, we could approve some, but not all, and send back just the ones that need to be sent back.
Thank you for that, and there being no